everyone. Welcome along to Spa. Welcome along to Spa then for the 12 hours, the final weekend of the European season for the Creventic Series and the second edition of the 12 hours Spa-Francorchamps. The circuit is looking absolutely stunning. It has been just a beautiful day, 23, 24 degrees, middle of summer kind of conditions, even though we're in the middle of October. And we have seen running all day long as a private test for the Creventic Series, and then we've just had practice. But now we've got in sound and in vision coverage of qualifying for GT and the TCE category. The fearsome Eau Rouge is awaiting our drivers as we look at the 2018 calendar, which finishes its European tour here at Spa-Francorchamps, having been to Silverstone, Navarra, Imola, Portimao and Barcelona. But don't forget, there is the final round of the GT Series at Kota, USA in the middle of November, and that is the final round of the Intercontinental Series that includes Portimao and Dubai at the start of the season. Big entry here at Spa. It's encouraged a lot of local teams to come out. We're nearly 60 entrants with nearly 20 TCR cars alone. Plenty of different categories to get our head around. The A6 category has got 11 cars. Got SPX, it's got all sorts of interesting machinery. The 911 category, the 991 category has got plenty of cars. But we're going to focus our attention first on the TCE category. And down in the pit lane is Diana Binks.
That's dropped to around 21, but the wind has picked up slightly as well. Slight cloud cover down here as these cars are getting underway. No engines fired up just yet. Everyone seems quite relaxed. They were fine-tuning some issues, settling the driver, getting the drivers comfortable for the session around Spa. A lot of people very excited and looking forward to this. Seems to have come around pretty quickly this afternoon, but everyone is ready. As you can see, no one's making their way out yet, but we'll come back to you with any news as it happens once this session finally gets underway for the TCE qualifiers.
Well, we have still a minute and a half left of the session. We have a minute and a half left of the very small break that we had between sessions. Hopefully the TCE guys got into the pits and got themselves sorted at the end of that practice session, because the turnaround has been remarkably fast. For the GT cars, not a problem. They've got the whole half an hour session of TCE to come. But for those in A3, TCR and Cup 1, this is their qualifying session, their 30-minute session. No rules, no knockouts. It's just who can go as fast as possible in the 30 minutes. The track conditions definitely are changing. As Diana says, the sun has now dropped down behind the grandstands, behind the trees on most of the circuit. As you can see from our old Formula One pits, most of the track there is now under shadow, so the track conditions will change massively. Tarmac will get a lot colder, and that will change how the cars feel. So interesting conditions for these drivers throughout the day. Very sticky hot tarmac for the whole of practice with beautiful, beautiful sunny conditions. But now the sun's gone in, now it's not hitting that tarmac. Very, very changeable. As we say, A3 TCR and SP3 to watch out for. If you're watching our screen, there's a cow. Lots of interesting people to... very random. It was very. They do have long lenses, don't they, the TV guys?
I think we are capturing just how rural we are in rural Belgium. Up in the Ardennes forest, it's quite a beautiful circuit to be around, quite a beautiful area. Let's head back down to the pits for more information. Have we got this qualifying session starting? Have we got a green light? That's the important thing. Diana?
I've just seen 2 cars head out of the pit lane, but there's still a lot of cars still within the garage, but I can't see any indication of the lights, but the engines are firing firing up behind me. I'm not sure if you can hear that, but it looks pretty quiet in this pit lane at the moment. But they will be going out any second now. I can actually see the green light, so it is go. But maybe there's some tactics going on here, Joe, ahead of this qualifying session.
Well, I think it might be that the end of the last session was only about 5 minutes ago. So
yeah, probably.
You've got to turn these cars around pretty fast. We do have one car heading up the pit lane exit on the inside of Eau Rouge, and that is the Hoffa Racing Bonk Motorsport BMW M2, the Cup 1 car. Michael Schrey is driving that machine, and just behind him, the two Volkswagen TCR cars of Holmgard Motorsport and of Lestrup Racing Team. But the pit lane is so long here. If you're in Garage 1 of the Formula 1 pits, it's going to take you a good minute and a half to get off that pit lane speed limiter at the bottom of Eau Rouge, past the fueling bays, which are in the Formula 1 pit lane. So they're at the bottom of the, sorry, not the Formula 1 pit lane, the endurance pit lane. They're the bottom of the endurance pit lane that is not used. So the old Formula 1 garages going down towards Eau Rouge is not being used by us. We've got all of our cars in the F1 pits, but you have to sit on the pit lane speed limiter all the way from effectively the last chicane down to Eau Rouge. And of course, there is a hairpin within it through the inside of La Source as well. So it's a very, very long pit lane. It'll take us some time to get the cars out into circuit. Now, the other thing that they have to think about is this lap is very long, 7.5 kilometers in length, and for the leading SP3 TCR, sorry, the leading, SP3 TCR Cup 1 cars, they were doing 2 minutes 40. So for a lap to get out, warmed up, then onto track, then bring the car back into the pits, change driver, all of which is going to take a decent chunk of time. So you have to be careful with how you approach this session. Probably we're only going to see 2 drivers, I would have thought, out of the selection, maybe only even 1, and certainly not really an opportunity to do too many laps within each stint of tyre.
It's not as bad as the Nürburgring, and it's not as bad as Le Mans. But we've got a long lap here at Spa, and even though you've got a 30-minute session, like you said, Ben, I think you've only really got time to qualify 1 driver and see how that goes. Plan for 1 driver. If you've got a little bit of time and you've got someone itching, what you don't want to happen is to create too much of a fervour and get someone panicking and going out and doing something silly, putting the car in the wall, putting the car off. And certainly a lot of the teams are going to be thinking about just who is their quickest drivers. And the 303, the Red Camels Jordan, no surprise there, young Rick Breukers, superstar in the making, is at the wheel of the 303, and he will be qualifying. He's sharing that car with his father. It's a father and son team in the 303 car. Now, this weekend, they're not down to share the car with anyone else. Now, it's not unfamiliar territory for us to see Rick and Ivo Breukers in that number 303, sharing it with other drivers. But for this one, for just the 12 hours, they're keeping it in the family. They're not needing the services of any other drivers, and it will remain to be seen. Let's not forget that dad, Ivo Breukers, getting over a really bad leg break, and I think it's fair to say he's still in recuperative terms with regards to that break, and a bit of a challenge. Hashtag this is endurance, most definitely in that 303, because we're going to have the vagaries of performance and the physicality of driving these cars for such long stints coming into play, certainly in that car. And he has driven, he drove at the Barcelona 24 hours. He's done more than enough stint length, and it didn't cause him any problems whatsoever, and he was able to complete that race in good fettle, and I'm not really envisaging any issues as that car circulates on its outlap. It's getting towards the end of the lap now, just coming towards Blanchimont, and he will be starting his first flying lap. The thing about Spa that I find, Ben, is you can have the almost perfect lap, and then right at the very end, the chicane, the very tight right, left, it can all go to rats just by missing your braking point by 2 meters. Because at that point where you brake for that very tight right, left chicane, that's the fastest part of this track, arguably.
Yeah, absolutely. They, that's what Adam was saying, wasn't he? He was saying that the going into turn 18 was the fastest part of the circuit. In fact, not going up the Camel Straight, which you would kind of expect that to be breaking into turn 5. But such is the gradient, and also getting Eau Rouge right or wrong. We have about half the grid now out onto circuit. 17 machines are circulating for the moment, but nobody has started a proper lap yet, I don't think. The first car on track was the 131 of Hoffa Racing by Bonk Motorsport. 2:37.6 was their first lap time, but presumably that lap time would have started when they left the pit lane. Is that right? Haven't had enough time to have got round and done a complete lap. Either way, there we go. Now at the top of the time screens, a 2:41, the first lap time that they've managed. That is probably a couple of seconds off where they needed to be in that Cup 1 car, but it's a target for everyone else to beat. And in fact, instantly the Audi RS3 of AC Motorsport with Stéphane Perrin, the 888 machine, goes fastest. A TCR car, that is, a 2:40.112. That's one of the older TCR sequential boxed cars. You have the DSG box, which is the flappy paddle, if you like, and then the sequential, which is the old, my preference, banging the gears down with your left or right hand and the kind of stick in the middle of the cockpit. And there are differences in the way that those cars are balanced in balance of performance in the TCR category. The Creventic series have to adopt what the TCR series decide in terms of balance of performance for all of the TCR cars. And so that constantly changes depending on the performance of the TCR cars across the world. They'll take into consideration the World Touring Car Championship, they'll take into consideration the TCR Europe, or any of the regional championships like UK, Russia, Middle East that perhaps will reincarnate next year. And they have to balance their cars to what the TCR series dictate. A sequential gearbox car gets a weight break over a DSG machine. And so it's interesting that the Audi RS3 actually was never designed with a DSG, with a sequential box.
That's right.
Because it was such a new machine. It's only a year and a half old. But because it shares the same running gear as the Cupra and as the Volkswagen GTI, they can actually have a sequential box in there.
Yeah, I'm not sure if any of our runners have gone for the sequential box or the DSG, apart from the one that you've mentioned there. And I think it's because the actual the mechanics of how the car changes gear, the way the gearbox works. A lot of people have that preference, like you said. You prefer the stick shift sequential aspect rather than the paddle shift, which is very old-fashioned of you, Ben. You being from the computer age. Just want to say hello to some of our listeners. Welcome to Jamie Peters-Ennis, who's sitting at home listening and watching. Kevin Poole, good to see you're with us. And Woolly Retired Snatchman. I'm not really sure what the Retired Snatchman bit. I think he was a marshal. Right, let the busy Spa weekend begin for real, and no better place to start than listening to Brothers 3078, Binksy DB, Ben Constantine and Bruce G.O. Racer 1. Please fire in any queries or tweets if you like. I'm at Brothers 3078, Dinah Binks is at Binksy DB, Ben is at Ben Constantine, and Bruce Jones is at Bruce J.O. Racer 1. Please,
which implies that he's a racing driver, doesn't it? I've always thought this about.
He's the first one. He's the first.
He's the first
of the Bruce J. Bruce Joe. It's Bruce J.O. Racer 1. So Bruce Joe. But yeah, it works.
It works.
It works. I've got Twitter working. We've connected to our collective, who join us as a team. And together we'll get through this 12-hour Spa weekend. We are. Because what we don't know, there's someone out there who does, Ben.
And actually, as there's plenty of stuff going on with RSL this weekend, but we're the only race in Europe, so we've got an advantage on our time zone, as we've got over people in America and people are covering Fuji as well. But we are the European, and we'll bring you through from 9:50 tomorrow. Well, actually, we'll start a little earlier. Probably start at 9:30, all the way through to 10 o'clock tomorrow night. It'll be just the four of us talking a lot. and some exciting racing. It's going to be fascinating. It's 59 cars across various different categories. Plenty to always watch and talk about. The session is a slow burner, and it's a slow burner because the track's so long. That's the reason why it's taking a bit of time to get some times in. Simon Knapp in the BMW M4, which is an SP3 car. That was the beautiful one we saw a little bit earlier on. Fantastic looking machine. Mukoffer Racing running that machine. That's just gone fastest with a 2:33, 3.5 seconds faster than anybody else. And that is an SP3 class car. We do expect those SP3 class to be significantly faster than a TCR car around here, considering the long, fast straights that we have. And they are effectively GT4 spec, but they are for the Creventic series SP3 cars. Time disallowed, however. Time disallowed not for that particular car we were talking about, but for the 125 machine, which was Wolfgang Hau, who just finished his lap, but clearly understeered wide at turn 17, which is Blanchimont, and therefore had his time instantly disallowed. Good work by the track officials to get that instantly taken away, because it does sometimes take a little bit of time to get rid of times, and it's very frustrating for us.
Talking about SP3, we've got a lovely, diverse SP3 class, 5 cars fitting the SP3 criteria. We've got a couple of BMW, we've got an E46 Coupe here of the GR Motorsport team, that's car 118, and the beautiful M3 V8 GTR of the Team ABBA Racing, that car, the number 234 numbered car, winner not just once but twice of the Silverstone 24 Hours. We've got that beautiful, if you haven't seen it yet, Ben, you need to pop down there, the BMW M4 of Munkoff Racing, that car virtually brand new. Great to see that out. And then we've got the Aston Martin Vantage GT8 that we spoke to Andy Palmer about just earlier, and a Ginetta G55 of Colin White's CWS Engineering. I think that's quite a mix there, just in the SP3 class.
We're just running on board with Tic Tap Tot Car Sport from Spain. We're on board their Cupra, and an amazingly lurid moment through the corner we now know as Jackie X. I've always called it its speaker's corner. It's the only corner you can see from the commentary position, but turned in left.
Can you remember when it was called the corner with no name, which in fact gave it a name?
Yeah, no
it's
name.
Like Billy Balthorpe, the man with no name.
Same as Goodwood. There's a no name at Goodwood. But we were just riding on board, and we are now riding on board again. Turned into that left-hander, no tyre temperature in the rears whatsoever, instant slide, and beautifully kept it on the track. Now we're looking at the M4. Look at that. What a stunning car.
It is. It is really absolutely stunning. We've got 2 BMW M4s, one in the GT4 class. That's the number 256 of Gamzes Motorsport, a Belgium team. And great to see some of the local teams coming out and playing with us at the 12 Hours of Spa. But the Munkoff Racing car, the 259, that's the car that we're watching on the live stream, live in sound and vision on the RSL network. And the 259, just trying to pick it up on the timing screens, is the still the car at the front, showing the illuminated colour of the position board in the rear quarter window. And that car just absolutely looking the business. What have you got for us, Ben?
The 136, which is the Volkswagen Golf GTI TCR car of Motorsport Development, has stopped around turn 9, so that is the Jackie X corner. We were on board with Rick Broikers here, and I thought we were going to see, but I think we just came onto him a little late, so we didn't see exactly where or what is wrong with the Volkswagen Golf GTI. But that's 136 TCR, and he's not yet got a time. Hervé Malinet was on his first lap out of, he wasn't in his out lap, he was his first lap, and sadly has stopped around turn 9. Yellow flags flying at turn 9, and therefore not going any further. We will endeavour to jump on board with the car. Here we are on Tic Tap, so we'll be able to see on board here exactly where that car is parked through the Bruxelles corner.
Triple A is...
and just let's see if we can see him on the left or the right here. Any sign of the car? Yes, there we go. right-hand side, he's facing the wrong direction, and a red flag. Red flag, so the time stops at 6 o'clock local time. They've had 15 minutes of session. They've got 15 minutes more. Let's go down to Di.
The 888 AC Motorsport car is in the pit lane here, so that came in just as that incident you were talking about happened on track. Stefan Perrin has jumped out, and Vincent Rademacher is behind the wheel now. So no rush, as you can see from the activity in the pit lane. Obviously, with that red flag coming out, I expect a few more cars will now come back in, but they have had a driver change in the AAA.
That car is 5th position at the moment in the category. It's 3rd in TCR. It was actually beaten by Volkswagen Golf of Emil Salberg and Harry Hilders in the Cupra TCR. So Perrin needs
en SP3, c'est la plus rapide des voitures de tourisme.
the wheel. Another good looking livery. Beautiful looking livery on the Audi RS3. Very good car for endurance racing, this TCR car. They've struggled a little bit with the sprint racing, the Audi RS3, but it's such a long wheelbase. It's such a stable car, a predictable car for endurance racing. Really nice car to drive. Vincent Rademacher is aboard the car, and he, of course, of great fame in both British touring cars and world touring cars a little bit, but since then, since 2007 or 8, when he stopped with the world touring cars, ended up doing Belgian GTs and various other GT categories. And great to see him here as we have a red flag. No major drama, just need to remove that 136 car, which is facing the wrong direction. I think it's made light contact with the barrier down at Jackie X. And once we've got all the cars back into the pits, which takes a long time because the red flag flies and then you've got another 3 minutes before everyone can get back in the pits, then we can get that car removed. Diana?
I'm still with the AAA car, obviously, because we've got that delay now. Stefan Perrin has just... Stefan, you've just jumped out of the car. What did you find on those couple of laps?
I think that we have a good car, and we have a lot of traffic on my lap, and I think we can be cancel 1 or 1.5 seconds more, and I think that Vincent will do the job. Yeah.
How different have the conditions changed on the track from the earlier practice session? It wasn't too long ago. I think temperature has dropped slightly. Has it made much difference?
Well, yeah, for us, we know very well this track. The car changes every time, and it's our job to manage it. And yeah, it's not a problem for us. We are at home, and we know these circuits.
What makes this circuit so special?
Yeah, it's very fantastic. And we have the luck to be often on these circuits. And it's not for nothing. We say that the best track on the world. Yeah.
Stefan, thank you.
Thank you, Di. And the AAA car now being taken over by Stefan's teammate, Vincent Rademacher. It'll be interesting to see how much quicker, if at all, Vincent can be. Should be saying Vincent there, I would imagine.
Vincent.
He's Belgian, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. Vincent.
We've got the clock stopped at just under the 15 minutes, so we were just underneath the half distance, and thankfully that car just being pulling off to the side of the track there, which will assist in being able to recover it. It's just been recovered onto a flatbed.
I'm not sure it chose to pull off. It's facing the wrong direction, so I think
so. He spun off, hasn't he? Yeah.
I don't think he chose to park it there.
Right. Okay. I was a bit confused there by the CCTV coverage that I have from the circuit cameras of it being recovered, and I was thinking that's driver's right, isn't it? But I didn't realise it was pointing in the wrong direction. So yeah, he hasn't connected the barrier. He hasn't damaged the car. The car is on its 4 wheels, so that will assist in the recovery of it. And
I just don't think there's an opening there that is easily accessible by the marshals. And also, they probably aren't running a full 5-men crew on marshal post, so it's much better to neutralise the track and get the recovery truck straight to him. Perhaps also you can't push it if it has had any kind of, or if it's lost a wheel, for instance. You're not going to be able to push it easily.
Can't really tell, can we, from here, from the view that we have? Not even our binoculars can see that far.
32 cars in TCE. an impressive number spread across those different categories. Still, what do we reckon? 8 cars that haven't yet to set a lap time. Bas Kuiten's Audi RS3, Bapro Audi RS3, SPV Cupra, Motorsport Development Volkswagen, we saw that in the barrier. The other Bapro Motorsport Cupra, the Sorg Rennsport BMW 235, the 151, hasn't set a time. Rick Broikers, we ran and bought with him, but he had a very slow sector, presumably because he was under red flag conditions. He didn't manage to get a time in, and neither did the Cox WEC Motorsport BMW E46, E46 M3. We haven't seen them out on track at all. So that is a question mark as to if there's any issues with Dave Cox's boys or not. As we take a quick look at the stunning Aston Martin GT8 and boss of Aston Martin in that car alongside Sir Chris Hoy. But neither took the car out on that particular session. Who was in it for the first part of the session? It was Peter Kate. Yeah,
he's pretty much their go-to, very experienced driver, a familiar name in the Aston Martin stable. Driven that car at Quarter last year in this series, last round of the Championship of the Continents. And of course, that car also competing at the Nürburgring 24 Hours. It's called the Aston Martin Vantage GT8, and it sits what am I trying to say? Spec-wise, that's what I was trying to say. Spec-wise, kind of in between GT3 and GT4, a little bit more than GT4, a little bit less than GT3, and a bit of a trickier car to drive because it's got the power of the GT3 but not the aero. Let's have more of an insight. I'm just speculating as to what the car feels like. A man that can tell us is with Dinah Binks.
Peter Kate joins me, just jumped out of the AMR Performance 226 Aston Martin. Peter, you were saying that obviously I know we're under red flag conditions at the moment, but you're not going back out even when the session's resumed, but you're happy with what you've achieved during the time you did have on the track.
Yeah, I think the conditions are perfect right now. It's cool. The track was clear when I went out. We want to look after the car for the long race tomorrow, 12 hours. So we have to go out again to do night quali, every driver. So I think we've done enough to the car today. All of my co-drivers, Andy Palm and Chris Hoy, have had a lot of laps. So I think it's prudence is the best thing right now, just to look after the car.
And you're happy with the balance, and all 3 drivers are happy with the balance of the car, the setup suits you?
Yeah, that's the fabulous thing about sharing a car, is it's compromise. So you try to make sure that everybody's comfortable, and that's what we've worked on today. So the car's working really well. The track, I think, is a little slower than it was earlier today, but it's working well. So, yeah, we're happy with the position.
You go out now, obviously there's less cars on the track than there were earlier during that practice session. You're conscious that you want to keep the car clean going into the race, but does it make it easier for you with less cars on the track while you're trying to find that time and keep everything going to the way you want it?
Yeah. I mean, there are lots of cars here, but I think I found a window. Unbelievably, I seem to be a car magnet most of the time, but this was good. I mean, I think one TCR car in my way just a little bit in Eau Rouge, but apart from that, it was a clear track, and it's such a pleasure to drive here. I mean, it's just a driver's circuit, and you can't help but smile. Clear or not clear, traffic, rain, whatever, it's brilliant. It's brilliant.
Everybody we talk to always say the same thing as a driver, the most amazing circuit they ever get an opportunity to drive. Big grid for tomorrow. Are you looking forward to what that will bring for you?
Oh, definitely. I mean, driving at Spa is on everybody's bucket list. I'm fortunate to have driven here for many years, and I think anybody who's designing a track should come here first because it's simple. You need up and down, and you need fast corners. You don't need these Mickey Mouse hairpins, you know, and when I think about tomorrow, I think about any time I come here, it's just always with a great deal of pleasure.
Peter, pleasure talking to you for the moment. No doubt we'll be catching up with you over the weekend.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
More importantly, Di, has he got any Tregothnan tea with him? Because we have got no source of Tregothnan tea. So can I leave you with that little mission?
I will sort that one out, yes. Don't you worry.
Excellent stuff. Excellent stuff. Peter Kate there, who was, I think, an advocate of Tregothnan tea, and it's been a bit of a survival pack for us in the RSL booth. Green flag flies. We are resuming. We've kept the time on the clock. It stopped at just under 15 minutes. We've got just under 40 minutes now as the green flag flew about a minute ago. But like you said, you alluded to this earlier, Ben, it takes a good 3 minutes to complete that outlap. And certainly in the TCR cars, which are front-wheel drive cars, and as ever, rear wheels on a front-wheel drive car, well, they're just to stop the back end scraping along the ground, aren't they? You know, they do nothing else. But the tricky bit is getting those rear tyres up to temperature. And certainly in touring car land, and also in certainly the world I've lived in Clio Cup, in a qualifying or practice session, to get the car optimised as quickly as possible, you would send the car out with the front tyres pressured on the back, and then come in, quick pit stop, diagonal the tyres from the rear to the front. That way you've got a lot of heat into the carcass of the tyre, and it gives you an optimum run. Plenty of time to do this, but I think they've got plenty of time in these sessions to actually just bring those tyres up to temperature using the brakes and scrubbing them.
But it doesn't give you many chances as a driver to get that qualifying time right.
That's right.
You know, you're looking at probably 3 laps maximum, especially with just 12 minutes to go of this session. Not even 3 laps, probably 2 laps, depending on where you are on track. 2 question marks for Diana down in pit lane. WEC Motorsport have not gone back out onto track. You'd expect them to have done so. So question marks over WEC Motorsport. Also the 167 GDL Racing Audi RS3. We heard that it went off at Eau Rouge, I think. Was it at... No, it was at Eau Rouge, at the middle of our practice session earlier on. We have not seen that car in qualifying. I don't expect to, but perhaps a lot of damage on the GDL Racing Audi RS3. First car over the start finishing line to begin a lap with 12 minutes left of the session.
So as we get into the final segment of this qualifying session, just under 12 minutes, so we are getting down to the final third. And this is the important bit. If you haven't already optimised your run, you're going to be wanting to do that right now. And at the moment, it's an SP3 class car that heads the timing screens. Hankook Racing BMW is at the head of the timing screen.
Yeah, let's see the timing screens light up then. You'd hope that there should be lots of green or purple sectors.
And
if the timing screen stays alive.
Yeah, it does indeed. Simon Knapp stays at the head of the timing screen. James Mayer's moved up to second place. He's on his outlap. That's the number 178 CWS Engineering Ginetta.
Yeah, and that was Colin White in the wheel who set that time just before the red flag came out.
Right, so Colin White's responsible for their best time, 2:35.003. Now that's still quite a way off. It's over 2 seconds off the Hankook BMW. Behind them in third place in TCE is the first of our TCR runners, and it's Lestrup Racing, Emil Solberg, who surprised a lot of us with was a bit of a founding, or a discovery, I should say, was Emil, who's also an engineer. He engineers he engineers in the Swedish touring car series, or he did last year, and he's proved that he's not just good with the laptop and the slide rule, but also very good with pedals and a steering wheel. Car 110.
Yeah, here he is.
And
not a better lap time in the first sector of the lap. Interestingly, just in front of him, Vincent Rademacher in the 888, as we spoke about a little earlier, he has gone faster than his teammate. A 44.1 is the fastest time that we've seen from any TCR car other than Rick Breukers, who has just gone a little faster and has, in through sector 2 now, has set the fastest time of anybody. That's including the SP3 cars. So Rick Breukers is on a really, really good lap in the 303. In the final sector of the lap, he'll be coming through Blanchimont right now, and we should see him, if he's had a nice clean final sector of the lap. He's got a tow from somebody, and he's got, one car ahead. I think it's a Cup car, 151. He's either cleared that car, comes across the line, and does go fastest. Rick Breukers, good effort from the Red Camels, Jordan Sayat. A 2:32.331, half a second faster than Simon Knapp did in that BMW M4.
Absolutely awesome. He's gone almost half a second quicker. Now this is where we start getting excited. So forgive us if Ben and I's heads explode, because it's very likely, because we've got a lot of contenders for the TCE Series pole position going into tomorrow's 12-hour motor race. So all to play for now as we get towards just under 9 minutes, and Rick Breukers we'll keep an eye on him as he goes purple in Sector 1. Purple Sector 1 means that's the fastest time overall that anyone has gone in that first sector, and that's beaten almost immediately by the GR Motorsport BMW E46. Michael Verhagen in the number 118, who's down in 8th place overall, 3rd in the SP3 class. He's gone quicker still in SP1. So, Ben, that timing screen is going to be lighting up and evolving and being... It's going to be like a Christmas tree with purple and green pretty much awash across the whole of this 33-car field.
Yeah, we've still got 2 cars are in the pit, so 31 cars out on track, including... not 31 cars out on track, 3 cars still in the pits, including the Aston Martin and the Hoffa Racing powered by Bonk that we saw the first car out in the first session, and then Hervé Malinet in the Volkswagen Golf that ended up in the barrier. We don't expect to see him anymore, but indeed 5 cars in pit lane, the rest of the field out on track, riding on board with Rick Breukers, who's still got a little bit of oversteer in that car. He's in the middle sector of the lap. He'll nearly finish that middle sector, so see if he can go purple. He doesn't even go green, so that middle sector has been slower than he managed before. And not far behind him, the 118 BMW E46 as the Ginetta decides to head off to Francorchamps.
Yep.
Slow middle sector for Michael Verhagen as well, so neither will improve. And at the moment, Rick Breukers stays at the head of the field.
James Maid is at the wheel of the number 178 Ginetta and just missing his braking there. Maybe his focus taken off the braking point for La Source as we go into La Source. We saw the Ginetta just missing his braking point, locking up a wheel, and then using that expanse of runoff on the outside of La Source. Not like the old days where you didn't have any runoff. And we see this again on the stream, just going down the inside, just his focus being taken off ever so slightly by the number 155 Cupra of Baz Kooten Racing, the Kawasaki liveried car. But there, the forgiving AstroTurf just on the outside of La Source, not causing James Maid any problem. He will, however, I believe, have that time. If that time is a quick time, he'll have that discounted because he used all the momentum on the outside. I'm not sure it was because he looked like he just scrubbed off too much, didn't he?
But that's that classic thing of the car in front was trying to get out of his way. So the car in front was actually carrying, not braking where we'd normally brake because he was going deep into that corner. The Ginetta thought, oh, OK, I'll brake at the same point as he's braking. Oh, hang on a second. No, that's a bit too late. Oops. And avoided an accident, but yeah, a little mistake there. It's so easy to do, to be dragged into a corner like La Source and end up braking a little bit late. But cars running together on track. Here's 133 and 146 together. So that's Bapro Motorsports and GSR Motorsports. GSR Motorsport from Lithuania.
They'll be helping each other with a tour there,
yeah,
I would think, out onto the Kemmel. It's a very, very long uphill straight, so you need all the power to pull you up the hill. And right now, the number 146 car, down in 10th, Julius Adamavicius, I hope I've said that right, gets the tour and just pulls off into the apex of the first right-hander part of Le Comte. The number 133 car, which is a little bit further down, 17th overall for the Paporo Motorsport Audi. Alberto Vescovi at the wheel of that car. Now it remains to be seen whether Julius Vasifius, that's going to be a box of trouble throughout this race. Car 146.
Wasn't a better time.
Wasn't a better.
It was quite far off the racing line turning in.
Yeah, that's the problem, wasn't it? Whatever he gained on the straight with the tour, he had to give up on the going down the inside of the car, completely offline, losing momentum.
Timing screen is being lit up by Simon Knapp again in the BMW M4. It's a car you would expect to be faster than a Seat Leon, and at the moment is second fastest, half a second slower than Rick Breukers. However, fastest that he's been before through Sector 1 and fastest of anyone through Sector 2. He's now in the third sector of the lap, coming towards the end of the lap, and that is him in the Mukov car, just crossing the line now, and he goes fastest of anyone. 1:32.122. It's only 0.2 of a second faster than Rick Breukers, who has brought his Seat into the pits, but it does put him provisionally fastest of the TCR runners with 4 minutes remaining of the session.
So back to the top of the timing screen has gone the BMW. And let's head down to the pits where Dinah Binks has got the 303 with her.
Arrived at the pit lane, they take the front right tyre, and Rick goes straight back out. But on his way in, actually, he got a slight delay because one of the stewards was walking across the pit lane and delayed him ever so slightly, just getting past. But they've changed that tyre pretty quickly, and he's gone back out.
Yeah, they needed to change that tyre pretty quickly because with 3.5 minutes remaining in this session, he's probably got just enough time to get round and start what will be just one attempt at a fast lap. He's proved it before, but a 23.122 is his target. He's first in class, but he's not happy with that, is he? He wants to be on the pole position. He wants to be underneath that TCE pole position board on the grid tomorrow morning.
Rademacher's got himself up into third position in that 888 Audi RS3, 0.8 of a second behind the M4. It's a pretty impressive effort as we again see this Lithuanian Volkswagen Golf, again with a nice big slipstream up the Camel Straight, but compromising himself so heavily going into Le Combe, under braking and on the wrong racing line, that I'm not sure it's going to be a better lap time. He just needs to kind of work a little bit harder on clearing that traffic. Also lighting up the timing screens at the moment, 129, which is Antti Burri in the LMS Racing Cupra TCR car. Sits 6th at the moment, 3rd in TCR, and he's just completed a lap time, not very good, 3rd sector. Stays 3rd in TCR, but moves up 1 position.
Now, the 303 left its pit box, and we thought in a hurry, after changing only one, was it the right-hand side front tyre?
Yeah.
And we thought he was going to be hurrying out onto the track because the clock is ticking. It's now 2 minutes exactly, and he's still in the pit lane because here at Spa, the refuelling area is on pit out, at the bottom of the hill of the endurance pits. So the pit lane here, we're in the Formula One pits, let's call it. I think that's the official name for it. We go out of the pit, we go along the pit lane, kind of go out of the pit lane but stay within the pit lane, confined to the pit lanes, denoted by cones marking the continuation of the pit lane, back into the endurance pit lane, which is defined by a concrete wall and a pit wall, and down the bottom of the hill just before we go out of the pit lane proper. That's the refueling area. He's now out of the pits, and I'm not sure, Ben, whether he has enough time to come round and start what will be a final attempt. I think we're going to see a checkered flag before Rick Breukers gets there.
Oh, and the Honda Civic is off the track. That is Alan James aboard that car, and it's had a little bit of a moment. Whereabouts are we there? That must be Stavolo. So that was Campus Corner that he's been off track. I'm surprised to see so many cars heading down pit lane, heading on pit out. Very, very odd. Here's a quick replay of what happened to Alan James. Our classic understeery moment coming out of the Fagnes chicane, and then you keep the lock on, slide across the track. Ooh. Very lucky not to collect both the barrier or the Cupra car, but he kept it completely out of the barrier. 4 or 5 cars have just headed down to the fueling at the end of pit lane with only 22 seconds remaining of this session. None of those guys are going to get a lap time even to begin. Very strange. And
it is very strange because it's not. We've got a night practice after this, so it's not like we're refueling the cars, or fueling the cars, I should say, for the race tomorrow. Yeah. You know, the last opportunity at the end of the session. We'll probably see a bit of that tonight when, towards the end of the night practice, they'll fuel the cars in readiness for the race. But because of such an early start, relatively speaking, time quickly runs out on the morning of a race. Even when we're starting at midday or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, the clock just seems to go. I can't fathom that. If they're fueling the car, what, for night practice?
Very odd.
Yeah.
Checker flag is out. First man to take checker flag was James May in the Ginetta G55 that we just saw. There is the checker flag, and a couple of other drivers coming across the line now. For the moment, doesn't look like many improvements. In fact, one of the few cars that was on course for an improvement, the Tic Tac Tot Car Sport.
That's easy for you to say, Ben.
Silly name. Silly name, and probably even harder in Spanish. They were on for a good lap time, but Jorge Rui jumped into the pit lane, so stays in 26th. We did not see both WEC Motorsport in their BMW 46 M3 And we did not see also the RS3 that was in the barrier, GDL car that was in the barrier after practice. So 2 cars not qualifying. They will still need to try to get out for night qualifying. Otherwise, they are at risk of not allowed to start the race. They must do laps in that night qualifying session. But 31 cars have qualified. Quick look at the BMW Z4 M Coupe of PDM Motorsport. Great looking, different machine. So nice to see all these different shapes and sizes. But here are the results then. It is Simon Knapp in the Muck-Off Racing BMW M4, fastest of all in the SP3 class, pole position with the Red Camels, Jordan of Rick Breukers, 2/10 behind him, and the AC Motorsport Audi RS3 of Vincent Ragamacher in 3rd position, 2nd of the TCR cars. Then it's JR Motorsports BMW E46 Coupe 3rd, the Ginetta GT55 in 4th position, or even 5th position, sorry. LMS Racing with Antti Burri aboard that car, 3rd TCR car, 6th overall. Then Bapro Motorsport Cupra in TCR, 4th spot in TCR. 5th spot in TCR is Lestrup Racing Volkswagen. Then 6th spot in TCR, the NKPP Racing with Bas Koyten Cupra, 175 that is. And then GSR Motorsports Volkswagen Golf at the tail of the TCR page 1. It continues though. Kawasaki Racing's Bas Koyten Racing, the 155 car, 11th overall, 12th overall, Mark Cars Australia, Audi RS3 in 12th, Aston Martin in 13th, Bonk Motorsport 14th, Holmgard 15th, SMV Racing Cupra 16th, ALM Motorsport Cupra in 17th, Bapro in 18th, all TCR cars, RWP Racing in the Seat 137, and then Bas Koyten Racing Audi RS3, the 125 car, 20th position. 21st position, the first of the Cup 1 cars, 131 Hoffer Racing by Bonk, then SMP's Cupra, and then Team ABBA Racing, the BMW M3 V8, 234, then the first of the A3s, the Peugeot RCZ, Sorg Racing's BMW M2 after that, then the Seat Leon Tic Tap Tot Car Sport, second of the A3s. Third of the A3s is the Honda Civic from Synchro Motorsport, JJ Motorsport after that, Sorg Racing after that, and 30th spot PDM Motorsport. That's Z3 Coupe. And then 3 cars we didn't see set a time. Motorsport Development, WEC Motorsport, and GDL.
Well, that was indeed quite an exciting qualifying session. I know Dinah Binks is still down in the pits and she'll be picking up any interviews to get some insight as to what happened there. Rick Breukers, I'm not really sure about what the tactic was that got that car in, changing one wheel and tyre, sending him back out, and maybe there was just a case of not being aware of just how much session time was left. Maybe one of them, because the clock does, as we've said, fly by here at Spa with such a long lap. We've got a little bit of a break in the track action. We're going to stay with you live in Sound and Vision on the RSL network at radiolemont.com and also 24hseries.com. And very soon we'll be getting on with our GT qualifying session. 29 cars, I think. Have we got 29 cars in that session? I'll do the maths in a moment. But we've certainly got a very healthy grid of GT cars. But for now, the track and the pit lane is very much the property of our TCE category. Let's head down and see who Dinah Binks has caught up with. Who have you got for us, Di?
I have Rick Breukers, the TCR pole sitter for this one. Rick, you came in obviously with a few minutes to go, changed a front right tyre, but you'd put the quickest lap in earlier than that anyway. When did you feel that lap was coming to you?
Well, I just had only one decent chance because of the red flag. After that, my tyres were already a few laps old, but I managed to do my best lap on that set of tyres. Later, we boxed again for new tyres, and we were hoping to get another go, but there was not enough time, so we decided to pit. So
you seem to be quietly confident, though. You were confident with the car. It's been very consistent. You were happy before you went into qualifying.
Yeah, the balance is really good, and the brakes finally work. We had some problems earlier this weekend. At the moment, the car feels great, and we're looking forward to the race.
Thanks, Rick.
Thank you.
Thank you, Di. That explains, of course, what happened there. The punctuation of that qualifying session with a red flag, always a bit tricky to get round because, of course, you've got the car optimised, you've got the car running, you've got the tyres. The Hankook tyre is not the tyre that kind of plateaus. It doesn't at all. You can still get performance, and the performance still comes. It's not like you've got one lap to get the time on and then the tyre will drop off. It's a tyre that you can continually go faster and faster. We've gone green. We've got a green light at the end of the pit lane, which means we are very much up and running with cars on track in our GT classes and categories, Ben.
26 cars then in the GT category. They were due to start at 6:30, and we've absorbed that little gap in proceedings so that they can start on time. A6 category cars, we've got 10 of those. The timing screen's again having a bit of a mare. Hang on 1 second. Good, we're back again. 11 A6 cars. We've got SPX cars, a very diverse field of 6 SPX cars, and then we've got the GT4 category and 4 GT4s in contention here. GT4 very similar to SP3 in terms of spec, just slightly different in terms of how Creventic treat them. And we have 2 BMWs, an Audi R8 and a Mercedes GT4 AMG in the GT4 category, but some special cars in the SPX category specifically, including 2 Mark Mustangs. They look amazing, absolutely amazing. One is run by Mark Cars Australia, it's where these cars are built. Another has got VDS Racing, who have been a long-time partner with Mark. Remember, they ran the Mark Focus V8. They also are running an M2. We've not actually seen the M2, but let's head down to Bruce quickly and find out the latest from the pit lane.
Well, the latest is we're about to go out and have 27 cars. I've done the maths for the GT section. We've got the A6 class. In fact, one of the front runners here, the Scuderia Praha Ferrari, is just coming out. Last minute work. They're just fixing the lights because, of course, it's going to get dark quite quickly here. I'd have thought they should have sufficient lighting on that car, but they were furiously adjusting it a few minutes ago. So just to run down, 27 cars. What a great entry. 11 in the top class, that's A6. 7 in the SPX class with some really interesting runners in there. 5 991 Cup Porsche entries and 4 GT4s. Many manufacturers. But looking at the form earlier today, it was out of the top 5, it was 4 Mercedes, with this Ferrari splitting them. Can anyone else get in the mix? Don't know, but the weather looks fantastic, the track looks brilliant, and the car's already out completing their first laps.
Thank you, Bruce. Bruce Jones there will be in our pit lane for the remainder of our GT qualifying session.
Just a quick throwback to the last qualifying session, GTE category, TCE category, sorry. WEC Motorsport have just tweeted us to say, sorry, we didn't set a lap time. Head gasket has blown on the E46 M3. If any team has one, please get in touch. And
that's tremendous. So head gasket for what?
The E43 M3.
Ah, right. Plenty of them are out.
Yeah, it should be.
I mean, it's only 6:30 on a Friday evening. There'll be a local garage in Malmedy or Stavelot. That's a local BMW dealer. Straight down to get. You probably want a competition one though, won't you? So,
yeah, something strong. That's the reason why we didn't see the WEC Motorsport guys. So good luck to them and their quests as we now start to get the beautiful sunset here that we normally expect to see at Spa on a sunny day. And I think timing screen says 26 cars out on track at the moment. Oh, sorry, expected on track. So one of those SPXs that Bruce alluded to is either not here, was on the entry list and is no longer on the entry list, or is not appearing on our timing screens. All are possible, to be fair.
Yeah, he's off to check the Mustang. Is Bruce?
Ah, that's what possibly. No, we've got 2 Mustangs on the timing screen.
Have we?
And actually, both are out on track. Good news. So that engine change that the Mark Cars Australia car needed has been completed. Although actually, it does say P still alongside it, so he's probably still in the pits. But he is on our timing screens. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cars that are yet to go out onto track. Hoffa Racing, Swiss team, Ebby Motors, who also were trying to change an engine in a practice session, Speed Lover and Pro Sport Performance have all yet to appear on track. although potentially are trundling down pit lane to go out on track any moment. As we take a look at the Scuderia Praha Ferrari. This circuit is not so much a Ferrari favourite, I wouldn't have thought. This is probably more playing in the hands of the Audi and the Mercedes.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure Matthew Maliacelli is wanting to prove you wrong.
Yes,
they've got a championship to win as well. Yeah, I'm sure. The Pro Sport Performance Mercedes team fastest in the free practice session that we've had earlier this afternoon, and they'll be wanting to match that with qualifying. And remains to be seen who indeed they get to do their qualifying. No surprise that number 11 has put their hot shot in. Maliacelli going to qualify the number 11. Christian Frankenhout, arguably the quickest driver in the number 1 Hofer Racing Mercedes. He's down to drive that car. That car not taking any part of the session yet, still in the pits. And at the front of the field at the moment has gone the number 34. That's the Max Edelhoff, another very, very quick driver, being chosen to qualify the car collection Audi there. And the quickest time so far, 2:29.3.
Yeah, we expect 2:21s really.
Yeah, that's their first effort really. So that's a little bit off the pace there. The team's just feeling their way in. And Ralph Bon at the wheel of the 911 Herbert car. And we've got information on the number 51 car. That's the Hadrian Morel de Marc Cars Australia Mustang. Down with Bruce Jones. Bruce.
Hadrian Morel, great to have you racing here at Spa-Francorchamps, but the race has been in the garage to get that engine change done on the 51 Mustang.
Yes, that's correct. We had an issue with the engine, and the crew's done a fantastic job to get it changed within between the... we missed that practice session, unfortunately, but within 3 hours, I've got the car back out there again, as you can see. Jake's going to put in a couple of quick laps for us now, and hopefully we can qualify where we should be. And, yeah, let's hope, you know, for a 12-hour successful race tomorrow. For any problems that we've had, hopefully they've been today.
And I think it's always fair to say when the mechanics have had a really rough day like today, you deserve to keep it out of the fence tomorrow, don't you? Do your bit, all 4 of you. Are the 4 of you driving the car?
Three. There's 3. There's Keith, myself and Jake. Yeah, and that's the last thing we want to do to the poor buggers.
Yeah. Your thoughts on Spa-Francorchamps?
Oh, this is the first time I've been here, first time I've driven this car. It's, yeah, amazing place. Not only the track, but the picturesque scenery, you know. I wish I had a bit more time to look out the window, but no, it is beautiful. Yeah, really, really flowing, fast track. So I'm looking forward to getting a few laps in and bringing the times down and bringing the car home.
Absolutely so. And then, of course, tomorrow night you can try all the Belgian beer. It's not too bad.
Yeah, I do like that Jupiler.
Thanks, Hadrian.
Amazing looking machine. We'll try and pick up one of those Mustangs on circuit for you. There's 2 of them, VDS running one of them, and then Mark Carr's Works team running the other one. That's all the Australian guys. The other question mark will be Evi Motors, whether they have managed to install their engine into the Porsche 991. They were still doing it during practice earlier on. We did not see them in our official practice session, having blown the engine in qualifying. So they have not come out on track yet. Will they be aiming to get out on track for qualifying or just for night practice? Question 1. Question 2, why is Pro Sport Performance still in the pit lane? They are the pace setters. You'd expect Adam Christodoulou to be at the top of the timing screens and lighting it up. At the moment, though, still in pit lane.
I've got an answer about 73.
Bruce Jones has got an answer on the Evi Motors car. Still engineless, Bruce?
Still engineless and, unfortunately, mechanicless. No one has touched the car since I first saw it about 3 hours ago in this sorry situation, and I would suggest that one, would you not say, with night practice coming soon, they've got to do the laps. I think this is scratched from the meeting, unfortunately. So for the Curtis and Fresa, I think it's over now. It possibly didn't have the right spare parts. Anyhow, that one, I think we can put a line through, at least in pencil, through the 73 Evi Motors Porsche. Well, unfortunate.
Well, Bruce, they may get some kind of dispensation
Yeah.
because their driver lineup are not exactly inexperienced, and it might be worth asking the direct question: have they pulled the car, and giving them set. But the thing is, I think, unfortunately, you may be right, Bruce, because even if you were preparing that car, you've got the clock is ticking to get that car prepared for the race start, let alone night practice.
Yeah.
Sorry, Bruce, hang on.
Sorry, I just was going to say I haven't actually seen anybody with that car since I first saw the engine was out 2 hours ago. No one in the garage.
Perhaps they've all gone off to try and get an engine from somewhere. They're not far away from here, are they?
Well, they are Italian, and it is dinner time.
Oh, don't say that. I'm immensely hungry.
So yeah, we all are. But they are Italian, so why hurry when it's pasta time?
I'm past my time. Right.
Right, Bruce needs to go down to Pro Sport. We've still not seen the Pro Sport car out on track.
Going there now. I tell you
what.
what.
Less than 19 minutes remaining.
Your wish is our command. There it is. Car number 85 with Adam Christodoulou on board. He was sitting there a few minutes ago, so keeping calm, wanted to cool the circuit. He knows what he's got to do.
And clearly Adam wouldn't need a warm-up lap to bang in the fastest lap that he will be looking for. Interestingly, we did see Daniel de Jong at the top of our timing screens with a 2:21.0, but that's been taken away from him. Track limits means that he's dropped back down to 9th and the tail of the A6 field. His lap time, 2:21.104. So that was the time to beat for Christodoulou. Now Christodoulou needs to beat a 2:21.259. Frederick Vervisch in the Audi R8 LMS Ultra has just set that time. A expert around Spa. Actually been driving for the last couple of seasons in the front-wheel drive Audi RS3 TCR car. But for this weekend, he's back in a GT3 spec machine. He's just been beaten by Lance David Arnold, who's got it into the 220s, a 220.506, 7/10 of a second faster than Frederick Vervisch. There's a right old fight going on at the front of the field, and Matteo Malicelli has just slotted the Ferrari into second with a 220.811, 3/10 of a second back from the SPS Automotive Performance Mercedes. We still have yet to see, though, Adam Christodoulou. We are expecting to see Adam Christodoulou in the Pro Sport Performance car. Timing screen says it's Charles Espenlaub, but Bruce spotted Adam in the car, so that'll sort itself out hopefully in a few moments' time. At the moment, though, it is Mercedes with Lance David Arnold, Malicelli in the Ferrari, Vervisch in the Audi, and then Max Edelhoff in the Audi run by Car Collection in 4th position. Mario Carolamia in the Swiss team Mercedes in 5th. Sven Muller in the Manthey Racing Porsche in 6th in the SPX category car. 3.5 seconds off the fastest A6 car. Then Daniel de Jong in 7th and Tony Fournet in the 2nd of the Audi R8 Car Collection cars in 8th spot. Timing screens are still lighting up, though. Still getting these Hankooks working in these lower temperatures. We have 17 minutes remaining. Was that a big old lock-up? I think it was. It
certainly was, almost a four-wheel lock-up. Or is it? Because we've still got smoke coming from that car.
That is one of the Mark machines.
It is. It's one of the Mark cars, BMWs, isn't it? It's the Quick VR Racing Mark M2 V8. It looks like a BMW M3. It's a silhouette car, though, and I haven't had a chance to look at that car up close, but I believe if it's a Mark car's entry, it's a tube frame chassis with a silhouette body. V8 engine, so it's very, very powerful. And what you were mentioning there, Ben, was as the car went into, where was that? Was that La Source?
Les Combes.
Les Combes, yeah. As it went in Les Combes, smoke pouring from underneath the car. However, that was a braking area. As it went through the right and then the left, and as it went to the final right-hander part of the Les Combes S's, it still had smoke coming from underneath the car. And that surely wasn't tyre smoke. Very, very odd.
We'll get more updates on that car as he continues around the lap. We're seeing lots of improvements from many, many people. The Ferrari looks like it might go top of the timing screens here, with Malicelli crossing the line now and doing a 2:19.5. Now that is very, very competitive indeed. That'll be difficult to beat for anybody else out there. There is the SPS Performance Mercedes of Lance David Arnold, who's just starting a lap. He did improve on his last time through. Oh no, Malicelli's lost that turn, lost that lap, that time, exceeding track limits. It's happening for many, many people. The track limits he exceeded was actually in the chicane. The 42 car has also lost his time down in 12th positions. So there is Malicelli. He's going to have to push again, but his first sector is poor.
I tell you what, Ben, I was talking about when we started night practice starting in daylight. It's gotten dark very, very quickly. It's just coming up to 15 minutes to 7, so 6:45 p.m. and the track is changing in nature and character, isn't it, out there?
Definitely.
It's definitely coming towards dusk. The sun has disappeared beyond the horizon, and because of the dips and troughs of this kind of region, the valleys of the Ardennes forest, and certainly here at Spa we have many, many undulations. In fact, parts of the circuit, the sun's just popping up over the trees and over the hill, so proving me to be a liar. But there are certain parts of this track which are descending into dusk, and that's going to change. Certainly the view reference points change, as we said. Whether that will matter to these pro drivers, it's debatable whether it will matter at all. I doubt very much. And Mario Malicelli there showing purple last time by.
Yeah, but it was taken away from him.
But it was taken away. It's still showing on the screen, so he's 2 minute 20.8 still remains. That would have absolutely smashed the pole position time. So we'll wait and see if he can match that 19-second lap, 2 minutes 19 to be exact, 2 minutes 19.5. So if he's continuing the momentum, he might even go a little quicker unless he's taken it completely out of those tyres.
On board with Mauro Calamia, sitting in 6th position now. He's just been bumped down by Christian Frankenhoek in the Hoffa Racing Mercedes. 2:22 was his best lap time. Malicelli has just gone over the start-finishing line to set the best time again with an improvement through Sector 3. And Sector 3 was the place where he actually cut the track last time through. So he's improved on that lap time and hopefully kept the car between the white lines this time. And then Ferrari goes to the head of the field by half a second once more. So he's able to match that time for a second time run. There he is up Eau Rouge, a clean run through Eau Rouge, now with a nice big chunky slipstream. What's that in front of him? That's the KTM Expo in GT4 spec, kinda, with the roof, and doesn't really look like a KTM Expo at all, but once you get really close to that machine, it's actually just lots of bodywork on a KTM Expo's very thin shell. We normally expect to see it as a convertible as such with those big roll hoops, but that's in its GT spec, and he's made light work of that. Not a fast first sector. What we really should be paying attention to is what Christodoulou is on this lap. A 40 dead through Sector 1. I reckon that is as fast as anybody's been through Sector 1, and Christodoulou is the man to watch on this lap.
Well, Malicelli did have momentum, and he's gone and matched that earlier time that was disallowed with a 19.5 again. He's got momentum, though, gathering pace on this lap. He's just come out of Piff Path. In fact, he hasn't. He's just come out of Pouon. He's now into Piff Path, isn't he?
Yep.
Yeah, this is Piff Path, the right-hander, and then the left-hander. So he's getting towards the final stages of the lap, using all the curb. Does look like he's still staying on it, and this is important.
No, I think he's lost too much time in Sector 1, though.
He's backed off, has he?
Well, Sector 1, he lost a second to Christodoulou, and indeed another second lost in Sector 2.
He has backed off. Yes, he has backed off. He's waited until he's gotten further around the lap to make that decision. So all eyes on Christodoulou now. Ben, as you said.
Yeah, not a great Sector 2 from Christodoulou. Should be in the 104s, and he's did a 105.1. It's his best lap time, but he's only done one lap. So Christodoulou maybe not on track at the right moment for the maximum amount of grip. With the light fading, the temperature coming out of that tarmac, we ride on board with Nico Verdonk, another very well-known Belgian driver. And Nico is 20th spot in the 94 QSR Racing Porsche 991. In fact, he's just been bumped down to 21st. What did we just see? Christodoulou up to 3rd spot. Christodoulou with a 2:20.974, 1.3 off Malicelli. I think he'll be going again and pushing again for sure on his return to Spa for the first time since he had a horrible, horrible accident where his Mercedes caught alight in British GT, burnt his feet and his hands. But this is his return back and doesn't seem phased at all. He's told us at length about his burns and his recovery. As we take a quick look at that Mustang. Look at that. What a piece of kit.
Love that car.
And it sounds great too.
It absolutely does. The number 58 Mark Carr's team Mustang is currently in 16th place. Rafael van der Straten is at the wheel of that car. This is the VDS Racing Adventures entry.
Yeah,
and it has the distinct VDS livery, the red with the blue and white stripe. And that car in the Van der Straten family, that livery, I should say, in the Van der Straten family for absolute decades. In fact, it was a common one that they used in Formula One when they went Formula One racing back in the 70s.
And it's about 0.6 of a second behind this one, just going through shot there, which is the 51, and Jake Calamari is aboard that one. That's the kind of the works car, the Mark Carr's Australia run car, full of Australians, and just slightly faster than the Van der Straten VDS Racing Adventures machine. Where's Christo? What's he on? He's in the middle sector of the lap. He's matched his first sector. He's found almost a second in the middle sector now. So Christo is on course for at least jumping into the front row. But can he challenge Malicelli? Malicelli is in the pits right now. We have less than 10 minutes remaining. You would expect him to be coming out of the pits again, though, with a new fresh set of tyres for another crack at it. It's Malicelli from Lars David Arnold, Christo in third spot, and Frederick Vervisch in fourth in the Come To You Racing Audi R8 LMS Ultra. He's 1.6 back and still touring around, although this last lap has been, well, actually, lap before was very poor. A 6-minute lap. Surely that was because he came out of the pits. Malicelli is coming back out on track. Christodoulou improves, but stays in third spot.
Not quite enough. I think if he's going to gain enough time to put himself on the front row of the grid, indeed the pole position, he's going to have to do it in sector 1. Sector 3, Ben, is all about that straight line speed from Stavelot all the way to the chicane through Blanchimont. It's all flat out sections, and high speed handling is what's needed in sector 3. Very little variation in performance of the whole range of cars. The difference you can make is sector 1, which is from the start finish line through the La Source hairpin all the way through Eau Rouge, Radillon and down the Kemmel Straight, and it's all about how much speed you can carry through Eau Rouge and Radillon. That'll give you that time. In fact, what number is that car? The number 16 car out and heating his tyres, weaving down the straight. Lance David Arnold still feels he's got more time in that number 16 Mercedes. And indeed, Matteo Malicelli, we've just seen getting refueled for another run at qualifying. 8 minutes on the clock. It's going to be frantic towards this checkered flag.
Best SBX car is Sven Muller in the Manthey Racing Porsche 911 2019 spec. Quite a significant margin ahead of the two Mustangs that sit second and third. Best 991 Porsche is Kay Van Berlo in the Van Berlo Racing 56 machine. And again, a decent advantage, about a second advantage over the QSR Racing School. Nico Verdonk trying to make amends of that. And best GT4 is the Mercedes GT4 car, again, of QSR Racing. Jimmy De Brucker in that car, 22nd overall in this qualifying session. Again, one car we have not seen, Eddie Motors, without an engine at the moment, sitting in the pit lane, and therefore we will not play part of this particular qualifying session, nor of the night practice session that will follow. 7 minutes remain. We've got pros out there setting blistering lap times. Christodoulou has found another couple of tenths in sector 2. His car's working beautifully in that middle sector, but he hasn't got the pace through sector 1 and 3. Can he get him up himself into second spot, at least, with Lance David Arnold and Malicelli back out onto track? Christo goes up into second, but he still needs to find nearly 4/10 of a second.
Absolutely great lap from Christodoulou. Still got a little bit of time to find, though. I say a little bit of time. 4/10 of a second is almost a mountain to climb. We'll remain. Let's wait and see. Let's stand back and see, because he's still on it. Matteo Malicelli, though, he's been known to get even more performance out of that Ferrari and absolutely demoralise the field when he does so. He's on his outlap still. We'll keep an eye on how he continues round, and just waiting to see him complete his sector 3 on his outlap, and then we'll be able to get a grasp on where he is on the track. He's coming up to the chicane now. In fact, no, he's just crossed the line. So he starts that first flying lap. Plenty of time on the clock for him. 6 minutes, in fact. So down towards the bottom of the hill at Eau Rouge. He hits that compression as he turns through the first part of that corner, which is the left hand, using the curb there. Through the right hand part, Cleeps well off the curb, and then using all of the curb at Radillon. Carrying that speed now onto the Kemmel Straight. All of that momentum. He's got a couple of cars in front of him. He's got the VDS Racing Adventures Mustang. It may compromise him through Lecombe, and I think that is going to be the lap compromise because he's had to really check up there as the Mustang in the middle of the right-hander off the Kemmel Straight has probably ruined Matteo Magliucelli's attempt at improving his time. He doesn't really need to. He's on the provisional pole now, but he is under threat. He's under threat from a number of cars.
Christo has gone faster than he's been in Sector 1.
In fact, Christo, Ben, gone green in Sector 1, purple in Sector 2.
Yeah, that's about 0.4 of a second in Sector 1 that he's found.
Wow.
And he's definitely found another 10th in Sector 2. Hopefully he's not got too much traffic. Where is he on track? 85, no, he's not got traffic at all. He's coming up towards the bus stop chicane with just one car ahead of him, which is the 19 machine, which is Daniel de Jong. De Jong goes up into 4th spot, and wait for Christodoulou. Can he take provisional pole position? It is super close between the two of them, but Christo's on pole.
Yeah, almost the same deficit as he lost the pole position to Tom Onslow-Lona. The gap then was 0.015 of a second, being demoted to second after the Dulu. Magliucelli is out there, but he hasn't gone at all 2 sectors, and he's only got the final sector to buy. Still though, Ben, coming up to 3.5 of time for Magliucelli to challenge.
Yeah, still got time, and Sven in the 912 Manthey Racing 2019 Porsche 911, himself up into 6th position overall, so extending his advantage in the SP. He's 1.9 seconds off Christo's time. But good effort from by its classification in SPX, an A6 car, because it's not a homologated GT3 car yet. But doing a great effort in that car, Sven Muller, just ahead of him in the Audi R8 LMS cars. Slightly different inboard with another of the car collections down in 8th.
Championship contender. He's gone green in the first sector. That's Sector 1. He's out of Jackie Eakes, the left-hander at the bottom of the hill, out of Bruxelles. And that's the 912 there.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Sven in,
right, okay.
in 6th spot. Oh, just love it.
Yeah, it is fantastic. Manthey are my favourite team when it comes to liveries. I absolutely love their fluorescent green and yellow. That one, however, is completely different. As into the pits has gone Adam Christodoulou. I think that was him just saying pull in the pits there, just down the bottom of the pit lane. But out on track, the number 34, Max Edelhoff, has gone green in Sector 1. He's getting towards the end of Sector 2. He just clicks by there. And not quite, where is his time? Not quite quick enough though, 1 minute 5.5. That's nowhere near where he needs to be. He needs to be almost a second quicker than that. So that challenge for getting that number 34 further up the field has not come off in Sector 2 for Max Edelhoff as Adam Christodoulou brings the Pro Sport Mercedes. Now we'll be wanting to look at that timing screen and see if that provisional pole is going to be snatched away like it was for him in Barcelona. I doubt it though.
Well, Lance David Arnold has again improved his time, so he's now just 0.3 of a second behind Christo. He does need to find, he can find all of those 0.3 of a second in Sector 2, matching Christo in Sector 1, matching him in Sector 3, but Sector 2 he's about 3 to 0.4 of a second off Christodoulou's time. And Christo, I think, is the only man to go into the 63-second barrier in Sector 2. Everybody else in the 64s. And Magliucelli has got no answer on this particular stint. 54 seconds remaining. So we'll start to see the checker flag being thrown to various people. Here's a quick look at the Swiss team machine down in 10th spot. And not the last of our GT3 runners. In fact, the last of our A6 runners is the Herbert Motorsport Porsche 911. Alfred Renoir in that car, and that's the one that's been rebuilt quite a bit since practice when we had some collision. Had a collision with the barriers. They fixed that car. They're absolutely fine out on track, but obviously have not got the pace. And actually, they're 7.5 seconds off Christodoulou. That's a big, big disadvantage for the Herbert Motorsport Porsche. So they're really struggling. Lance David Arnold then. Again, he's found some time in Sector 2, but is it going to be enough? Checkered flag is out. Anybody who comes across the line now will have finished their session. The first man to do so, Daniel de Jong, who I think actually goes into pit lane, de Jong. Indeed he does. We're watching Tony Forney in the 33 Car Collection Motorsport Audi in 9th spot. But Lance David Arnold is the talking point. Has he got enough speed to get at least that Mercedes onto the front row? If he gets it onto the front row, can he take pole? He takes pole! Wow, what an amazing final sector from Lance David Arnold. And he's so close between the three of them, 1300ths of a second ahead of Christodoulou. Christodoulou's missed out again.
I'm sorry, but the Creventic series organisers have gotten the Barcelona script up with the Spa script. It's exactly the same script, just different protagonists. Adam Christodoulou, though, will just be, he'll not believe this. The deficit, the time difference in Barcelona was 0.015. The time difference for this one being snatched away from him is 0.013. You can't write it, can you? You couldn't write it.
0.025 covers the top three.
Wow.
That is just incredible.
And let's add into the point that the number 11 Ferrari, which will start in 3rd place, and the number 85, which will start just ahead of it in 2nd, are going for a championship, Ben. Only 5 points between it. Wow. I'm going to have to take a breather there. I did not expect that to happen. Lance David Arnold in the SPS Automotive Mercedes absolutely pulled out all the stops there. He wasn't really that quick in Sector 1. He was quick, but he didn't go green. He went green in Sector 2, which was a personal best, and then he absolutely blitzed Sector 3. Fastest Sector 3 of that whole qualifying session, right there at the very end, by about 2 or 3 tenths, if my math served me correctly.
Yeah, because he'd lost some time to Christo in Sector 2. So he had to take a couple of tenths in Sector 3. And Sector 3 is the exit of Stavelot, or Curve Pool Frere, that we now call it, Blanchimont, which is effectively flat out, and then the braking zone into the chicane. That is it. That's all the whole of Sector 3 consists of. So it obviously under brakes, commitment under brakes, taking as much curb, straightening it as much as possible. And Lance David Arnold has taken pole position in a Mercedes AMG GT3 ahead of Adam Christodoulou, who is a works AMG GT3 driver. By just 0.13 of a second. Ferrari in 3rd, 0.25 down, and then it's a second to Hoffa Racing. MP Motorsport, Daniel de Jong doing a good effort, but 1.3 back in the end. Then Car Collections Audi RS LMS, Come To You Racing's Audi R8 LMS Ultra with Frederick Govish aboard, and then the second Car Collection Motorsport Audi in 8th spot. Best of the SPXs with Sven Muller in the Manthey Racing Porsche in 9th. And then a bit of a gap to the Swiss team Mercedes in 10th position. And MDC Sports in 11th spot with Herbert. Still some time and some work to do, I think, on that car in 12th position. Quite a lot slower than everybody else. Best of the 991 cars is the 13 Van Berlo Racing Porsche 991. The Mark Cars Australia Mustang in 14th, then the Porsche Laurent in 15th, that Porsche 991 car. VDS Racing's run Mustang in 16th spot, Porsche Laurent in 17th position, QSR Racing 18th, Speed Lover in 19th spot, and there Porsche 991 in the SPX class. Then the M2 Mark from Quick VR Racing in 20th position. And then the SPX KTM Expo RTR Projects, the all-Czech team. The first of the GT4s, QSR Racing, beating Fox Motorsport, Mark Cars Australia BMW M4 in 24th, but third in GT4. And then the second of the M4s in 4th position. Abbey Motors not setting a time with no engine in the back of their 991. Question marks whether we'll see them tomorrow.
So with that very exciting qualifying session coming to a conclusion, that has put Lance David Arnold in the Mercedes. It's a Mercedes 1-2 that will start the 12 hours of Spa in the morning. We've got night practice coming, but let's head down to the pit lane where Bruce Jones is with the victorious SPS Automotive today. Qualifying is all about them. And on the pole position will start the number 16, Mercedes AMG GT3.
Yeah, it's hugs all round down here. Beautiful sky, sun setting over the pit lane. Just wait for Lance David Arnold to take his helmet off. But watching those timing screens, as you were saying, 0.025 of a second, covering the top 3 finishers in qualifying. Outstanding lap. We'll wait until a suitably hot-looking Lance David. What a pole lap. And the end sector, the 3rd sector of the lap, was magnificent.
Yeah, it's hard to analyze, this lap, because of the second set of tires, we had a little vibration, because when you go out with cold set of tires and you pick up the old gummy, in the rubber, you have a lot of vibration. You need, for sure, 2-3 laps to get it off, and then the tire was perfect. And yeah, it was luck, that we have at least 1 lap at the end.
One very, very good lap. It was so close, and for the second race running, Adam, who thought he had pole position, in Barcelona it was 0.015 of a second. He lost it. Today, you broke his heart, 0.013. So for Tim and Valentin, and you, Lance David, great job. Enjoy the session. Rest of the evening, look at that. That's what it's all about. So, ladies and gentlemen, SPS Automotive on pole for tomorrow's race.
What a qualifying session, and what a race it sets up for us tomorrow. 12 hours non-stop here at the Circuit Spa-Francorchamps. And really, really exciting to see how Christodoulou will fight off his team companion, Lance David Arnold, and the Ferrari of Matteo Malicelli. When it comes to the changeovers, who has got the strongest full driver lineup with Hoffa Racing, MP Motorsport and Car Collection, all in the mix. And that's just in the A6 class. So many different classes, so many different stories to consider throughout the whole of the classes. 59 cars hopefully will start the race at 9:50 tomorrow morning. And a quick look then at how it all went down. And qualifying started in the light. Fantastic light at the start of the TCE session, sorry. And really, really interesting to see how the traffic played a part as well. Cars on different laps, different strategies, some out the pits whilst others were pushing. That beautiful BMW M4. Early part of the session, fastest. Then we had a red flag with the Seat in the barrier over at Jackie X corner. A delay whilst they had to recover that car and get everybody back into the pits. And then a chance for a second stab at the cherry. But breaking the session up into 2 like that did not work for some people. And Rick Bruker's all of a sudden getting to the top of the timesheets in his TCR car. Sideways from Alan James in his Honda Civic. And then it was time for the GT category. Ferrari versus Mercedes versus Audi. And Malicelli setting a very quick time, but having that time taken away from him with track limit infringements. The early pace setter therefore, Lance David Arnold. Daniel de Jong actually was the first person to hit the top of the timing screens, but he also had problems with track limits and eventually ended up down in 5th position. Christodoulou waited and waited to go out onto track, left the first 10 minutes sitting in the pits, but eventually after 3 or 4 attempts managed to get to the top of the timing screens, came into the pits, thought job was done. But Lance David Arnold had other thoughts. And with the checkered flag flying, one last ditch attempt to try and go faster than Christodoulou, and he managed it by 0.013 of a second. A Mercedes front row lockout, Lance David Arnold stealing Christodoulou's pole. That's it from Spa. Thank you for joining us. We've got night practice coming up in just 20 minutes' time.